What is going on, everybody? This is going to be a quick run through today of setting up data orchestration with Mage-ai. It's kind of a new tool. There's been quite a bit of buzz around it, so let's jump right in. I'm here on a fairly new install of Linux Mint, and if we go to mage.ai, we can just go to Start Building, and it'll give us some nice instructions here. I'm going to go ahead and do the virtual environment route. So I'm going to grab a terminal with Control-Alt-T, and actually, you know what, I'm going to make a directory, and I'm going to do Mage Demo, and then I'll create a virtual environment. And you know what, I will call this Mage Demo as well. And because this is a new install, it looks like I need to install virtual environment, or VENV, however you pronounce that. So I'll go ahead and do that. Might need a sudo, I don't think so. All right, that should just take a minute. And we can try that again. All right, and we can see what it created for us here. Ooh, I did not CD into that directory. That's all right. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and actually, to see the virtual environment directory, we just need to LAH, and we should see somewhere in here. It should be there somewhere. Oh, I guess it would be Mage Demo. So that probably overrode it. And there we go. And we can just source bin activate. Okay, and now to install, we're just going to keep following the instructions over here. I actually want to install some other things that would allow me to interact with Google Cloud Storage. If you wanted all the goodies, you would do Mage-ai all, but I just want Google Cloud Storage, like that. All right, and while that's downloading, I'm going to go ahead and go over here to GCP. I've already got some projects here, but I'm just going to make a new one. That's fine. Hyphens work, so we'll make that Mage Demo. And we'll switch to that one. And one thing I will point out here, if you go to your dashboard from the drop down, just remember this is your project ID. If you're working with Terraform, a lot of other pieces of software, they say, hey, what's your project ID? I know a lot of people put in their project name, but these are unique across all of GCP. So make sure you look here and grab that ID. All right, and I just want to make sure that BigQuery API is enabled. All right, that looks good. And I also want to make sure that cloud storage is working. Sometimes you need to just click and enable, but I believe since I did this on my account already, that's all set. So to access this, we are going to want to go to IAM and admin, and you can do service accounts here and create one, or go to IAM, give that a moment to spin up, and I thought service account used to be in there. Let's go service accounts, create service account, Mage demo, and let's see, actually I'm not going to be using BigQuery, so I just need storage, object admin, and storage admin. These permissions are way too broad for security to be good, but for this demo, that's fine. Scroll down a little bit. There we go. And all right, should be good. Click the little ellipse here. We're going to manage keys, and we are going to add a key, create a new key, and JSON file. So that is what's going to let us interact with these resources from our local PC. And that's going to be in my download folder, so I can just cd to downloads. And you know what, I'm going to just make that a little bit more friendly of a name. New install pop-up there. And let's see if Mage is done. All right. And let's see here. And then we're just gonna Mage start our project. So we can go ahead and do that. And not in that terminal. Actually, let's see what we got in here. Because that's going to create a directory. And probably not good that I'm using the same name for this directory as I am the parent directory, but you know what, that'll work. Okay, and here we are. Sure, it's free software, so I will share my statistics. And we already have a nice example pipeline here. But you know what, I don't know. I've seen this before. I mean, you can look at it. I know there's a demo video or two out there on this. It's neat stuff, but I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. And I could have just deleted this pipeline as well and created a new one. So the way this is going to be organized is here is my project, Mage Demo. And then you have these blocks here all the way down to pipelines. Well, and these as well. So your pipelines are going to show up here. This is your project, and then these are just all the blocks that are shared. These are the ones that come stock for kind of examples and demos. Just to clean it up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those. Okay. So we're just going to load our data. So we want a data loader, Python. We're going to call from an API. And you know what? I will call this Chicago Crime because that's the data I'm going to grab. And let's see, Chicago Crime Data 2023. And here is data.cityofchicago.org. And API. And you can choose CSV, JSON, GeoJSON. But if we look here, you can see it's just grabbing the text, and then the separator is going to be a comma. So that's telling me it's going to be CSV. You could grab JSON, do a JSON dump, and use it that way. But this will work for us, and it's pretty quick. And without using an application token, you're limited to, I don't know, 1,000 results. Signing up is pretty easy. Getting the application token to work is kind of weird. I might make another video on that, but this will be good just for a demo. And if you look around here on the data portal for City of Chicago, there's actually some pretty nifty free data if you're looking for stuff to play around with. But okay, we see we have our data. There's 1,000 rows and 22 columns. And of course we have dates. And usually those come into pandas as an object. So what we're going to do is do a transformer, and we're going to use Python. This is going to be a formatting, and we're going to reformat. And we'll just call this fixed dates, like that. And the documentation I found with Mage is a little bit hard to navigate or Google search. I think maybe just because it's so new, it hasn't had enough time to be properly indexed by Google. I don't know. But I like how you make these blocks, and they have the link to the docs right there. So if I hold down Control, click on that. Oh, here we are. Reformat values. Well, Control F. What do I want to format? Well, I want to reformat a date time. And that doesn't take too much searching until I find, oh, date time conversion. So I can just copy that and back to the pipeline. Which column do I want? It's going to be date, and we can see that right there. And let's just go ahead and run it. And you can see how automatically the blocks go sequentially. If you want this to change, you can just go ahead and delete that. You can drag that back, just showing how it flows. So that's a nice feature. Okay, so what I want to do is go ahead and put this in a storage bucket. So I need to go ahead and make that. Just going to go buckets. Let's see, create. And I'm just going to call this Mage Demo Bucket. Multi-region's fine. Standard's fine. Yeah, sure. Okay, so we have our bucket, and we just need to grab our bucket name, if I can highlight correctly. And let's see, there's my pipeline. And we're going to do a data exporter. And we're going to go to Google Cloud Storage. And we'll call this export to GCP. All right. And again, Control click. Gives you some nifty information here. It says Google application credentials. We can define let's see, somewhere in here it says basically if we have a service account, we don't need the other environmental variables defined, and I can show you that here real quick. But let's go ahead and paste in our bucket name real quick. And we left our service account in the downloads directory. So what we need to do is open up the ioconfig.yaml, and we're going to be using our service account key file path. So you just need to highlight all of that and control whack to comment it out. And we want the full file path here. The user I'm using is Gary, and that's going to be downloads. And what did I call that? Mage demo. And that looks good. The little red circle up here shows it's not saved. Just go ahead, Control S, and we should be good. And let's see what else. It's what the file is going to be called. I'm going to call this crime data.parquet. And if we go back to the document we were just looking at, that was the transformer. What we actually want is format. Oh, there we go. So here are the formats that we have. We have CSV, JSON, Parquet, HDF5, and that's a little misleading. I believe that needs to be lowercase, although I'm not sure. Now let's try. So format equals Parquet. And down here we'll just add format like that. And we'll go ahead and run that. I forgot an S in downloads. So that was in my config file. There we go. Control S to save. Let's try that again. That was the wrong block. That is my data exporter. And we see that it was exported to Mage demo bucket. We can verify that here. And that's a little bit odd. It says that the type is text plain, but it is actually Parquet. We can kind of verify that. I'm not in my virtual environment anymore, but I'm just gonna pip install pandas real quick. Oh, I actually need to install pip first. Go ahead and get that running. Every Python install needs pandas, so that's all good. And I actually have a snapshot I'm just gonna refresh to after this. While that's running, we can go ahead and, you know what, we'll just download this. And again, we can go to our downloads folder. And you know what, if I just run head on crime data, that is definitely not plain text. So we can also verify that with I lost where I was installing pandas. So let me just see, Python 3, import pandas, SPD. Oh, I think I installed pip, but I didn't pip install pandas again. There we go. And I want to be in the downloads directory. And shoot, what was that file called? Crimedata.parquet. need to install PyArrow to be able to use that, so pip install PyArrow. Okay. And then we can check 1,000 rows, 22 columns. Not sure why that came back as an object. But we can see that it was saved to Parquet. Let's see. One or two more things I'd like to show you. So now that we have these blocks defined, we can actually go to our pipelines. Here it's really easy to rename. We could just do crime pipeline. And if I was being smarter about this, I would have named this project something like Chicago data. And say I wanted to grab 411 data, or is that 311 non-emergency calls, other data. I would just make a pipeline for each one of those. If we go in here, you see it says no triggers available. So we can just create a trigger, and we'll just say on a schedule, and we can just call this I don't know, daily crime grab. Frequency, we want that daily, and let's see. I guess it really doesn't matter. I'm just thinking of what time it is now. And if we look at the data, it's May 2nd today, and this data has been updated. I don't see a time on here. I don't know. It doesn't really matter for even your personal projects, but best practice would be, you would look to see the latest time that the data is updated, just so you make sure that the data is actually there for you to grab. And we can go ahead and save changes. And the status is inactive, so start trigger, now it's active. And if we go back to our pipeline, we can see that it's active. And we can run pipeline now, see that it's running. And if we go back to our crime data, I should have had that pulled up. The time is 6:22 Central Time. This is 6:16 when I grabbed it. And if we go ahead and refresh, we see that the data is now 6:22. So just a few other things. There is a great Slack channel. I did run into a few hiccups, kind of figuring out the whole config file and just how all the pieces of the UI worked. They were very responsive, so big shout out to them. And if you were doing this in practice, you would want to do probably a Docker container. Let's see if I can pull it up fast enough. Yeah. So you'd probably want to spin up a VM on GCP and then install Docker, run your project in the container in the VM, and that way, if your computer's off, it still runs. But that was just a quick run through of Mage-ai. Definitely a faster setup than Airflow, and just kind of a intuitive UI. There's a lot of features I didn't go into, the charts and visualizations, which are great. But that's it for this one, and I will catch you in another video.